I never know how to start this, but welcome back. This is the second video on my ever-growing YouTube channel. This one, today, now, right here, right now, we are talking about some of the biggest challenges I have faced, you may face if you're a gymnast, within your gymnastics career. So I've written down a few points and just that I thought I went through that might be helpful, or maybe some people, if anyone watches this, could relate to. So we're just going to work through them in a very chilled out setting. We're back in the coffee shop, the Coffee Vault at Tumble. Quick little shout out. So the first one is a challenge. However, it is the most, in my opinion, one of the most important parts of gymnastics and potentially any sport you're going to play. And it is failure. So in gymnastics, from skill acquisition to competition performance, you have to fail. You have to fail to learn. In life, gymnastics, obvious. So failure, I couldn't write down or tell you all the times I failed. From failing a new skill, to get up, to go again, to perfect that skill eventually. Some people say I haven't perfected any skills, but from going to competitions, falling over, the worst thing you can potentially do, falling over, not performing your skill properly, failing there to understand the pressure. And the biggest failure that I kind of learnt from was, again, like we mentioned in the last video, was coming fourth at the European Championships. But again, I don't see it as a failure. I see it as the biggest learning curve for me. And I truly believe that me failing there led to me still being a gymnast, being successful, being kind of getting on that road to my second Europeans. So I think failure is a massive one, but it's one of the most important challenges you're going to face in gymnastics. Right, second, numero uno. Oh, is numero one? Hmm? Is uno one? Dos. Numero dos. My second biggest challenge that I feel like I faced was injury. So again, when you do sport at any level, or especially when you get into performance sport, the likelihood of injury is increased. And I've had my fair share of injuries in my gymnastics career. I've had multiple severe ankle sprains, broken my leg, broken my arms twice. I've split my eyebrow open. I've smashed my face up with my knees. What else have I done? So many joint and muscle injuries, I can't count them. But the most decisive injury, calf tear. I tore my calf quite badly. That put me out for six months, and kind of led to why I wasn't picked in the starting lineup for the national team. But one of the coaches, an amazing coach, who was kind of been there through my gymnastics journey, had a bit of faith in me and still managed to get me there as a reserve, which I'm very thankful for. But one of the most defining ones was when I was not very good, and I just rolled my ankle, kind of sprain, and kind of broke my growth plate, broke the growth plate at the bottom of my leg, and kind of after that, I was nervous getting back into training, but I kind of had this kind of attitude of, oh well, it doesn't matter, I'll just try it, and that's where quite a lot of my development came from. And I got a bit more, I'd try something, I'd try a new skill, and that kind of missing out on my first chance to go to Europeans, which was in 2016. Again, I remember sitting watching a couple of my friends there, and I was sat there and upset, and I was thinking, I want to be there, I want to do that, I want to get there. But again, I think you have to see all of these challenges as kind of positive, and I think that's a massive difference between kind of someone who's going to see maybe someone who's going to be in performance sport and someone who's not going to make it to performance sport, and it's not seeing them as a hindrance, seeing them as a benefit. The third challenge I have faced, I'm probably forgetting lots of things here, but mental blocks. Now, if you're a gymnast, you will be massively familiar with mental blocks, and they've kind of only come to light massively since Simone Biles at the Olympics. Simone Biles, one of the most amazing gymnast to ever walk this planet experienced severe mental blocks, and then kind of her not living up to maybe her expected potential kind of brought mental blocks and twisties into the public eye. And you can't explain it to someone who's never experienced one. But mental blocks are something that I experienced in my career. My biggest one was as the gymnast out there performing a flick, so like a backflip, or back handspring, but you use your hands instead of just completing the somersault with no limb touching the floor, or no hands touching the floor, sorry. And I just remember physically not being able to do it, and I used to get so upset, and I used to cry, and I used to just feel like I couldn't, and that is really, really challenging. And I see it all the time, day in, day out, with the kids I coach or kids I'm involved with in gymnastics, and it can end people's careers almost to that point, because not even just being able to perform it, but mentally, like, it can be so draining, feeling like you can't do something, and you lose that faith, you lose that confidence, and it knocks you for six. So when I work with gymnasts with mental blocks, I'm coming from an angle where I fully understand what they've been through, and it's like anything in life, that your lessons, that your experience, like anything in life, your experience kind of develops you as a person and leads you to become a better person. I do believe that my mental blocks help me to coach maybe kids differently to how I was coached through it, or differently to how I would want to be treated through it, or differently, maybe a more effective way of learning and going through it. But yeah, mental blocks are incredibly challenging. So if you've experienced one, you're doing well. And if you're still going, you're on it. Okay, number 4, I'm not going to try and say them in a different language because I'll mess it up. Balancing a social life with training as a teenager. Now, this is a big challenge, and I often have to advise maybe some of my gymnasts that are going through it, how I dealt with it. So this comes up time and time again. So growing up as a teenager, I just always attended training. So maybe my friends would be, I don't know, going out or going to town or doing whatever, getting in trouble. And I'd always make sure I was at the gym. So keeping consistent with it. So through the week, I was always at the gym. Maybe on Saturday night or Friday night, I'd go out, we'd go to house parties or whatever, that kind of thing you get up to when you're a teenager. But I always just went to the gym and tried to do everything else on top of that. So I prioritized my gymnastics first, and then maybe I couldn't go out that night, I missed it, brilliant. I mean, that took its toll, because it kind of led to people not even bothering with certain things, but you kind of learn those people you don't really want to be around anyway. And it's kind of how I got started in fitness as well. Like I just stayed consistent with weight training, resistance training. And I remember when I was at college, so I was like 16, 17, is it? 17, 18. In lunch, I would always go to the gym and train. And we had an hour lunch, and I'd have my lunch quickly, go to the gym, and lots of people would sit around and talk, and just, there was such a long time, and it's not that it's bad to do that. It was just, I just didn't want to do it. I wanted to be training or doing something. But balancing a social life can be massively hard. So you have to commit to your training and it's all balance. You have to have balance. You have to have not that super stress of gymnastics all the time. It wears you down. It gets you to the point where you feel like you don't want to do it anymore. You have to enjoy your training, and you have to be able to enjoy your social time. You have to go and do things with your friends, have time off in the gym. And that's where I think in gymnastics is training, there's going to be a massive shift. And it's certainly something I have in my coaching philosophy, from this, you have to be in the gym 7 days a week to be a successful gymnast, that's kind of drilled in from coaches and drilled into young gymnasts, and they're burnt out by 10, 11, 12, and they don't want to be there. And we're looking at bringing gymnasts through into their late teens and getting through that dropout period as a teenager, because people can't balance it, or maybe they're not helped to balance it, is massively important. And we've got a job to do that, and we've got to get your balance right in training. Okay, so next point, or next challenge, other people's perceptions. Now, this can be broken down into many things, so I'm going to try and cover it broadly. When I was growing up, I wouldn't say I experienced severe bullying towards towards me doing gymnastics. I definitely experienced some. You're doing a girl's sport. Are you gay? You wear a leotard. Things that spring to mind. And again, this is things that I've experienced and I talk to my gymnasts about, that we go through, and they're normal things that are going to be experienced. So people's perceptions of the sport is this kind of typical, or you could say it's this kind of typical, or maybe favours women more, or the popularity kind of favours women more. But in recent years, it's actually massively improved, with a lot of these male role models, gymnasts becoming influencers, celebrities, being in the public eye more, whereas there's a little bit more of a balance now, even to when I was younger. So 5, 10 years ago, like there's a big 10, 15 years ago, there's a big difference between then and now. So other people's perceptions, when you're young and you're not maybe as confident in yourself or your own skin, you need to kind of find your way to deal with this. And again, I remember recalling being upset lots of times, maybe not being upset in person, but going home and maybe having a little cry, being upset, thinking, oh, why am I doing this? Like, why? But if you keep going, you get to a point where these people that maybe bully you or maybe weren't very nice about you, they want to be your friend, and they think that. And I always remember, like, when I first got picked for the national team, the people that were not being nice to me in school, maybe they were saying, I train too much, or I'm a girl, or whatever they were saying. They're the first to congratulate you, and they're the first people that want to say they know you, or I know him, or oh, that's really cool, or it's the first people, the people that are dissing you. And then also, besides gender, maybe just what people thought of you. And again, I've experienced maybe negative coaching, negative friendships, negative coaching that have kind of really had an effect on me and led to me facing some other challenges that I shouldn't really have gone through, or didn't need to go through, and kind of were just an additional stress to my life at the time as a teenager. But you've got to remember that a lot of people will talk about you because they either don't have anything going on, they're interested in what you're doing, and they've got nothing better to do. And you just have to keep doing what you want to do. And again, I truly believe you'll be able to get anywhere you want to get, should I say, if you put the work in and work hard. Yeah. Another challenge that I currently have faced recently is that kind of transfer from leaving university, starting my business, JF Coaching, and working here alongside my colleague doing Tumble Team Gym, is my lifestyle changing and different priorities come into play. So training's taken a back seat, along with other reasons like there not being the qualifications maybe necessarily in my area to perform some of the skills I want to perform, or not maybe the perfect equipment, which again can be seen as an excuse. And maybe if I really, really wanted to be a gymnast fully and reach my potential, I would move and I would live somewhere else or something like this. So I think it shows maybe where my heart is at the minute. But it motivates me more to become more qualified, grow the area, work in cohesion with other clubs, and let's get better coaches, let's get better understanding, let's get better gymnasts, let's work together. And I think that's a massive problem. People don't work together. We need to work together and kind of have this unity in coaching where everything is centered around the gymnast and the gymnast's best interests. And sometimes it involves coaches dropping their ego, and you have to drop your ego yourself. It's massively important, and you need to learn that. And learning that was definitely a big turning point for me, and realizing that everyone can add value. And it's something that I'm still learning, but everyone adds value in their own way. Different people can add value, and qualifications aren't the be all and end all. They're set tests, and you can have, maybe you learn something from a gymnast who's not done anything. That was one of the most important points in your coaching towards new gymnasts. But it's about having experiences and keeping the gymnast's best interests at heart. So yeah, it's gone from a challenge to coaching, but yeah. So they are a few challenges that I have faced. And again, you may face or you may not face, or you may find interesting to have listened to me face. So if you thought it was interesting, I'll do that old little saying, like, comment and subscribe. I can't say that. But yeah, and again, like, I'm always happy to speak to other coaches or anyone who maybe is going through these. If you want, you can get in touch with me or leave a comment on this video. We can talk about it. I can drop a reply. But if you're facing any of these challenges, I'd say definitely acknowledge them. Don't just hide them. Speak them. Speak to someone about them. Your friend, your coach, someone you feel comfortable with. Talking helps massively, and if you can kind of talk to someone else, they may provide something that helps you with it. Massively, myself, I like to hide everything and kind of just carry on, and that's kind of through my childhood and what I've experienced. I've learned that the best way for me to manage things is to kind of just carry on and just kind of keep them, and then what ends up happening is eventually everything just comes out and I get super emotional about everything. So you need to talk. And again, realize that it's not going to last forever. These challenges are not going to last forever. And I say to all my gymnasts all the time, there is more to life than gymnastics. You don't want to come out and feel like your whole life is involved in gymnastics. And when you finish gymnastics, that's massively, not that I've finished, but I know lots of people struggle with that kind of your identity, not as a gymnast. So have different things going on. Again, another reason to have a different sport, have a different hobby, go out with your friends and find the perfect balance. But thank you for watching. It's been a blast. And again, hopefully many more videos to come. Cheers.